So going back in time, gonna take me back to like 12 years ago. There was a point in my life where I was very, sort out used. I was very paranoid. Not that I wasn't doing this before, but I started to pay extra attention to my surroundings for, specific reason. So this is gone, as I said, this is gonna take me back to like 11 to 12 years ago. Um, I noticed that, as I said, I started to pay extra attention. I noticed that there was local law enforcement following me around. You guys know what I mean? It don't matter where I went. I'll leave, different cities and there'll be the same cops from the city that I left following me to, different cities that I go to. So to make a long story short, I got to find out that these cops were a part of the program, obviously. You guys know what I mean? I was never that target individual to make, any police reports, to file any complaints on this type of stuff. Because I knew that, nothing would get done. You guys know what I mean? As a target that found out, as a target individual that found out that they were targeted by local law enforcement following them around, I can only imagine that me filing a police report, they would not do anything. You guys know what I mean? As much as I didn't know about Freemasonry back then, you guys know what I mean? I had no idea what Freemasonry was. I was a young teenager at the time. You guys know what I mean? So I noticed that these cops were following me around, and I know that it wasn't just me. To tell you guys the God honest truth, after a certain amount of time of going through that one can only start to think, is someone after me? Am I being mistaken for somebody else? These are the questions that you're asking yourself because you're seeing these things happen to you. So, just seeing, as I said, just seeing these cops and how these cops will behave, that got to make me, even pay more attention. And a lot of things that was going on in my life, I started to think deeper of it. So, at this time, I was living at my dad's at the time, and he lived in a 5-story apartment complex. I guess you can say apartment complex. It more looked like a hotel. It had 5 stories and had a lobby downstairs, and he lived on the 3rd floor. So they hired what they call, it was an apartment complex. They had like 7 other large buildings in this apartment complex, instead apartment complex. So they hired what they called before all this happened, before I get on who they hired, they had a security guard. They had a security guard for that apartment complex, and it was just a regular. I mean, I think all this I'm remembering right now to tell you guys I got it on the shoot from scratch. So the security guard that they had before all this went down was a guy that I knew. I think it was, they worked on shifts. It was about 2 or 3 of them, and I knew all of them. I don't remember. This was, as I said, this was like 11 to 12 years. Like, I'm surprised I don't really remember these people. I remember one of them, but I think I did remember all this. It don't really matter either way. Either way, they're all cool, and it was exactly what they said it was. It was security guards that was for that apartment complex. The one car had some yellow lights on it, and it would just patrol. It would just, be riding around the complex doing their job. So after some time, also what you guys need to know is that the owner of these apartments, the guy is former Army, and it was a creepy guy. It was a creepy guy, very corrupt guy. He would always be, I think he would be like complaining about stuff that, not specifically me, but stuff that was being done in the apartment complex. So anyways, moving on. This guy and his team hired what they called were security guards for the apartment complex. And, as a target individual, I can scan out, FBI agents. I can scan out police officers. I can scan out local law enforcement. These guys weren't security guards. They definitely gave off FBI vibes. You guys know what I mean? They'll be constantly harassing me. I'll be looking out my window. I'll see them, perfectly synchronized. Every time when I look out my window, they'll be perfectly synchronized just passing by. So that's how I got to find out about smart technology. There's no way you guys know how I'm going to look out my window. You guys know what I mean? I'm looking out my window, and just I look out my window, perfectly synchronized as one of these security guards passing by. Flashing lights too, making noise, flashing lights. They had these new security guards that they hired. They had new cars for one. the car had some dazzling lights on them, and some loud sirens and horns, and they would be making noise. They'll be making noise. You guys know what I mean? So I got the point that the whole idea was to try to not let me get peace, was, as I said, to make me feel like, I had a warrant, like I was wanted. Keep in mind, guys, I've never committed a crime. I've never been arrested a day in my life. The only ticket I've ever got was a ticket from FWC for catching small fish. You guys know what I mean? But that's what they want their targets to think. They don't want you to live the life that you so desperately wanted to live. They simply do not want it. They want you to live like you have to be looking over your shoulders, like something bad is going to happen to you. I explained that if you're a target individual going through this, listen to this video. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. That's just what these people want you to think. I've been going through this for 12 years, people. 12 years. 12 whole years, bro. Of these people tracking, monitoring, surveilling my every movement, seeing what I'm seeing throughout my two eyes, hearing what I'm hearing, implanting sounds and voices inside of my head. 12 whole years. And I'm here today to tell you, nothing has happened to me. I walk around with the same energy, like I'm untouchable, like I don't even care anymore. At first, I explained I had more fear. At the beginning of this gangstalking program, I had much more fear. Now, anyways, guys, please stay tuned for part 2. That's all I have in this video. I'm always asking for you guys' love, you guys' trust, you guys' support as Detective Dash. Thank you guys for listening.